이제 본격적으로 그 교육 분야에 대한 그 발표를 해주실 텐데요. 씽크와이즈가 우리나라뿐만 아니라 90여 개국에 수출을 하고 있어요. 일단 미국 현지에서 미국 콜로라도 현지하고 지금 연결을 하고 있는데요. 웨인 맥커디 분이십니다. 미국 콜로라도에서 홈스쿨 교사이시고요. 가진 멤만 4만여 개가 되신다고 합니다. 그리고 미국에서 현지 팀을 파견해서 운영을 하고 있는데요. 손요한 팀장님 연결해 볼게요.
안녕하세요 여러분. 저는 ThinkWise의 제너럴 매니저 손요한이라고 합니다. 이 회사에 벌써 입사한 지가 벌써 10년이 좀 지났습니다. 오늘 제6회 ThinkWise 유저컨퍼런스에서 여러분을 뵙게 되어서 참 기쁘고 반갑습니다. 저희는 2004년 현지 고객에게 우수한 서비스를 제공하기 위해 ThinkWise 현지 법인을 설립했고 현재 얼반 캘리포니아에 위치하고 있습니다. 한국 이외의 지역의 MindMapper 브랜드 제품으로 지금까지 세계적으로 시장을 확장해 왔었고 지금 수년 동안 ThinkWise에는 기업체, 정부, 정부기관, 비영리 조직 및 개인에 걸쳐 충성도 높은 고객 기반을 확보해 왔습니다. 그중 일부는 처음부터 저희와 함께 하셨고 이런 분들 중 한 분이 오늘 발표해 주실 웨인 맥커리 선생님입니다. 제가 잠깐 웨인 맥커리 선생님에 대해 맵을 몇 열을 소개해 드리겠습니다. 4만 개가 넘는 맵을 작성해 주신 주인공 78세의 웨인 맥커리 선생님은 캔서스 주립대학을 졸업한 후 베트남에서 육군 장교로 복무하셨고 이후 그는 삶의 과정을 바꾸는 사역에 대한 부름을 받고 캘리포니아의 여러 교회에 목회를 하셨습니다. 그러나 하나님께서 또 다른 사명을 부르신 것은 바로 이 시기에 현역 군복무로 돌아가는 것이었지만 이번에는 군목으로. 그래서 결국 1995년 뉴저지에서 군목으로 명예롭게 은퇴를 하게 되셨습니다. 이후 소프트웨어 응용 프로그램 코딩을 하는 정보관리 기술 전문가가 되어 한계를 뛰어넘기 위해 노력하시면서 여기서 1998년 마인맵퍼를 만나시게 되죠. 여기도 은퇴를 하시고 지금까지 콜로라도주 홈스쿨 선생님으로 고등학생들에게 6개의 교육학 과목을 가르치고 계십니다. 그중 하나인 Intentional Student 과목은 학생들이 마인맵을 만드는 방법을 배워 학습을 효과적으로 정복할 수 있게 도와줍니다. 또한 그는 태극권을 수련하고 민간 항공 순찰대 통신부장이며 8명의 훌륭한 손주를 둔 할아버지이시기도 합니다. 때때로는 시간이 되면 웨스턴 스타일 주례도 서주시기도 합니다. 이렇게. 네. 자, 이제 웨인 맥커리 발표를 들어보겠습니다. Hi, Wayne, are you ready?
I'm ready, yes, thank you.
Okay, take it away.
All right, can we share my screen?
Yeah.
You'll stop sharing yours.
Let me start mine. Got it?
I think I've got it. Let's make sure. I'll go back to MindMapper. Good afternoon. I'm sorry, good morning to all of you. Let me just get some people out of the screen so that I can see my charts. It is a great joy to be with you this afternoon and to share. Let me just do a quick technical check to make sure everybody can see my screen. Do you see a mind map up there now? Is that correct?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, good. What I'd like to do to introduce my discussion today is to point out something very key that has been at the very forefront of everything I've done for all the years I've used mind mapping and before, and that is something called information. It's one of those things we all talk about, we all know about, but we can't really define. It's not easy to define. And I have come up with, I think, which is a fairly simple explanation for mind mapping, and that is symbols that are substitutes for something. Hopefully you can see a lot of cats on my screen, and we in English call them cats, but in Korean you have another word, and if I keep doing this, you're going to see lots of different alphabets, lots of different symbols, but they all refer to the same thing, a cat. And that is what we call substitutionary information. It's symbols that stand for something else. Now, when we teach information. And I'm going to go back to my other slides. Hopefully they'll come up here in a minute. And this is a summary using a mind map of the various milestones in my life over the years. Different things that I've encountered from the time I was born until today. And they all are things that describe me. I'm getting some background. I'm not sure you can still see me. Can I get a confirmation that you can see my slides? Okay, good. I didn't want to walk away from that. All right, I'm going to go back to MindMapper itself. I'm going to just simply display for you my ideas on the screen. I will confess that I am a die-hard MindMapper user, and when I was asked if I would be willing to do this presentation, the first thing I did is I created a mind map. That's just how I work. Off to the side here are just many of the tools that I use, and I can talk about those later on. Right here is my email address, and I'm more than happy to share the slides that I'm using this morning with you through Google Docs and Google Slides, or if you want to email me directly and ask me questions, I would be certainly privileged to entertain any of those questions. Because we're talking about education in this particular segment, I want to get there directly. On the ThinkWise SimTech website, at the bottom of one of the pages, they have 4 headings called Uses of Mind Maps: creating, organizing, implementing, and sharing mind maps. And I thought I would play off that theme. As a school teacher, I've been teaching schools, or teaching something for 56 years, a long time. And I have had various ways of organizing my thoughts and my presentations. And currently, I use mind maps as the full scope of what I do as a teacher. So I'm just going to walk you through my process that I do with a new school year coming up, and show you a little bit of how I use the mind maps. When I get home from Pennsylvania back to Colorado where I live, one of the first things I will do is I will begin working on the next semester, the next school term. And one of the things that I will do right away is I will create a mind map. And so I have started one here, simple mind map, just arraying information. I can add information to it. And I will just keep adding information with links that I may already have or may go looking for, just to start putting information into a place where that I can access it. Just to give you an illustration of some of the other mind maps further on, here is another one, the same class, but a little more sophisticated, a little more information. And it's got links, as you recognize, all over the place for different places on the internet and in my own files where I pull information together. Once I've done that, and I will begin doing all of my classes. I'm teaching a number of different classes right now. So here is, this is a variation, something that I'm currently working on, and it's the next step in a long line of maps that I've created to prepare my classes, and I put all that together. So once I've begun doing that, then I begin working on lesson plans. And the lesson plans are simply, what will I do from one week to the next to teach the information that I have? So if some of these things will go away. There we go. So I have notes from last year class. And I teach in a unique program where our students are only in school for 13 weeks. Then they're homeschoolers, so they study at home, then they come back to school for 13 weeks. So I have the weeks here, and what I will do is I will sit down and try to figure out from my brainstorm what's the information that my students need to get from week to week in sequence, so that I can teach the class. Now, if you notice these three little marks right here, those are my indicators, my signal that I've actually got another map. And in this case, quite a few maps. Here I've got some more. So that's just a prompt to let me know there are other maps available. So I will work through that. I will work through as far as I can. I will keep working into the semester. Often what happens is that at the end of a school day, I haven't taught everything I wanted to teach, or perhaps students have raised questions about things that they are interested in. And so this is constantly being updated, constantly being reflecting the changes in what I'm doing. So I'm working constantly on the lesson plans. And I'm going to say that as a good MindMapper would do. I have other mind maps for other classes. So that was class 2, this is class 5. And you can see it takes a similar shape, but with different content. So this is actually a map for next semester, starting in a couple months. And I will lay out all these things that I want to talk about on this mind map with all kinds of links to different things that are pertaining to that particular class. This is another version of, has to do with a particular subject matter, and if I click on these things, you'll find more maps are linked to those, and then I can back up, and I can go to another section, and I will actually teach from these maps. These will be on the screen. Often I will print out the mind maps so that my students can take notes and see what is happening. I'll reduce this down a little bit so you can see it better. Come on, there we go. And then again, I can drill down, and I love your split option in the tools that allows me to make all these sub-maps that keep dropping from one spot to the next. Okay, so I'm going to close these up, and I'm going to go back to the main map. So I have lesson plans. Now, one of the things that Johan mentioned is that I teach a class called The Intentional Student, how to be a student on purpose. And so one of the things that I teach the students to do is to use a mind map to lay out a typical school week for them. And that week, then they know everything they've got to do. And I've included on here, and I asked them to include, not just when the class meets with the teacher, but when am I going to spend time preparing for that class? And so as an example, I'm going to go here to chemistry, and I'm going to go to a textbook, and I show them how to use a mind map to create the table of contents for a textbook. And they can then go to let's say chapter 2, and they're getting ready to go into class, and they have been given an assignment that they're going to be, the teacher is going to lecture on the first part of chapter 2. So they will open up a new mind map, and they will quickly scan that chapter, looking for key points, looking for paragraph headings, looking for words that are in bold type, looking for key notes that are maybe in a box somewhere on the side, so that they have an idea of what to expect when they go into the classroom. Then what I do is I teach them to print that out, and this would be the same map, but I use different versions just so you can see how they would use it. And they go into class, and while the teacher is teaching, they're taking notes on this map. They're adding notes to what is happening during the lecture. Then they would go back to where they studied, and they would open up the same map, and they would add their notes. And as you can see, it's getting more and more in-depth. And this gives them a good overview of the lecture and the chapter. Now, what I teach them to do is that when it comes to be exam time, to take a test, to assess their understanding of the subject matter, rather than going back to the textbook, rather than going back and reading everything, what I have them do is simply print out the mind maps, and like note cards, they can just check each of the chapters, the highlights, the key points. If there's something they don't quite understand, they can go back to the textbook and check it, but they don't have to go back and reread and restudy and re-underline and re-note everything that's in the chapter because they've already got it on a mind map. All right, and then when they get ready to go to the next chapter, the next set of lectures, they will create a new mind map. Now, sometimes professors in their textbooks will include the glossaries, and this happens to be an online glossary that this particular professor has provided with all of the keywords defined, so they understand what the different words mean. And here you can see that they've, I've got the introductory page, and I'm not going to take the time to go there now. But they can go to PowerPoint slides, they can go to anything that pertains to that particular class. So what they're doing is they're using mind maps to organize the information that they're learning in the classroom, and even using mind maps to organize the work they do when they're getting ready for school. Now, once they've done that, and I've done the lesson plans, one of the things I like to do is I like to set up a portal. Key things about information. Creating information is important. Storing information is important. Accessing information is important. So what I have on this mind map are links to all the classes I teach. So if I want to do some studying on the class I just mentioned a few minutes ago, I could click here, and it would take me to the brainstorm of the lesson plans for that particular lesson, that particular class. If I wanted to do class number 1, I could go here. If the other class that I just showed you, the more complicated one, I could go here, and I could look at the map, and here again you see all of that. So from one location, I can access all of the different aspects of information. I have over here just kind of a general category for introduction, basic information, background information. And if I can slide over just a little bit, here is that intentional student class where I teach about mind mapping and how to be a student on purpose. So I use the mind map then to brainstorm my class, to try to capture all the information that I want to teach, to capture the sequence of events that I want to teach the students how to be a good student using the same information and the same mind maps. And then I'd use it as a portal to allow me to get back to the classes and the information I need as I'm getting ready to teach. Now, I've got a number of different kinds of portals, some of which I give to the students. And this is a portal that just is some of the basic information that my students need at the beginning of a course as tools to get through the course. And so you'll see here that there are links to a number of different pages, a number of different mind maps. Johan, keep me up to date on how my time is.
Yeah, I think we have maybe 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes, perfect. All right, one of the things that is always a struggle for students is when they have to write a paper or prepare a speech. And so I've used even features in ThinkWise, MindMapper, to teach my students how to do the papers. Just recently, I had to watch a movie with Jeff Bridges and Meryl Streep and Taylor Swift called The Giver. And I give them a project plan on how to do that. This is registered as a MindMapper project. And so I list the steps for writing a paper. But then one of the things that what you do is that using the Gantt chart feature, I then can allow my students to track where they are in the progress of writing that paper. Are they ahead or behind? Are they up to speed, or do they need to speed up? Are they doing what they need to do in order to be able to turn in that paper on time? And so you will recognize this. This is the F4 function in MindMapper. It allows me just simply to create a task that can be tracked. Now, there are two ways that we can do it, and I'm not going to pull up the MindMapper version yet right this moment, but what I am going to do is, if I can get rid of all these screens, I'm going to, hold on, just bear with me a second. Okay, where was I going here? Oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought just for a moment. Let me go to my calendar. This is a standard Google calendar. And what I have done by registering that mind map as a project is that I can come to my calendar, and as soon as it loads, it'll be down here, and I can click on a button and I can actually put the Gantt chart right on my Google Calendar. So we'll give it just a second. I had loaded it earlier, but then I had to shut it down. So I'm going to do this, and I'll click on this, and if you wait just for a second, all of the lines of the Gantt chart will show up on my Google Calendar. That way, as I am doing all the things I've got to do during the day, I've also got the ability to check where I am on the different projects I'm working on. And if I did the speech project, it'll come up with a different color, and I can identify where it is. So I've got this opportunity to use MindMapper as a master tool as either a teacher or as a student, and for so many other things that I've done for so many years. Johan mentioned 40,000. I think it's closer to 44,000 mind maps now. I use it probably daily, if not more so. I use it all the time. I love ThinkWise. I love MindMapper. And despite the fact that I'm 78 years old and I've been using it since the beginning, I plan on continuing to use it for just as long as I can. That covers the highlights of what I wanted to talk about, Johan. If you would like to thank our attendees for paying attention and bearing with this guy speaking a strange language, and close it out, I would appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. Actually, I learned a lot as well. 네, 여러분 잘 들으셨는지 모르겠습니다. 영어로 하셔가지고. 그런데 하여튼 좋은 말씀 많이 들었고요. 이 내용이 참 좋은데 제가 어떻게 지금 번역을 해드릴 수는 없는데, 하여튼 선생님과 스튜던트과 모든 사람들이 잘 쓸 수 있는 마인맵을 이용할 수 있는 좋은 말씀 드렸습니다. 이 기회 참 감사하고요. 다음 기회에 또 만나뵙겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네. 혹시 질문이 하나 들어왔는데 지금 시간이 많이 지체됐거든요. 그래서 쉬는 시간을 조금 줄이고 점심시간을 조금 줄이고 하고 질문을 하나 드려도 될까요? 손요한 팀장님, 우리 매커디 선생님께.
네.
질문을 하나
네.
이렇게 주셨는데 인터넷상으로 웨인 매커디 선생님께서는 4만 개의 맵을 이렇게 관리하신다고 하셨는데 맵이
네.
늘어날수록 관리하기가 어려운데 본인만의 맵 관리하는 방법이 있으신지 이런 질문을 주셨습니다.
예. 잠시만요. 이제 아까 잠깐 들었는데 이제 맵이 4만 4천 개라고 하거든요. 잠시만요. Hey Wayne, there's a question.
Yeah, there I am.
So basically the question is, you say you have over 44,000 maps, and the web, you have that much map. It's kind of gets hard to manage it. Do you have your own methodology for that?
Let me show you how I manage it.
네, 보여주시겠다고 합니다.
새로운 방법이네요. 그렇죠?
I use an index. Each letter of the alphabet is included in the index. And then when I am looking for a map, I go to I can go to the first letter of the map that I'm looking for, and I pull it up here, and I can go to that map off the index. And that's an excellent question, because I only started doing this about 4 or 5 years ago. Oh, I haven't got those on this side, but I use the index as a means of keeping track of all of the maps that I have. Let me see if I can get this one here. This will tickle you, I'm sure. But those are all the different roles I have as a person. And then of course I can hit 100%, and I can zoom in and pick that up. So that's how I organize all the maps.
네, 보신 것처럼 인덱스를 통해서 마인맵을 작성하신다는데요. 이거 지금 하신 지 한 4, 5년 정도 되셨다고 해요.
네, 저런 방법도 있었군요. 많은 도움이 되셨죠, 이런 부분은. 시간 관계상 저희가 이제 혹시 질문도 많이 있으실 텐데 질문을 나중에 조금 해주시면 저희가 그 맥커디 선생님께 질문을 드려서 꼭 답변을 드리는 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 귀한 시간 내주셔서 감사합니다.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yep.